So this as a second part of the two-dimensional universes and two-dimensional consciousness. If you look at it from a um, us as a human being, there are a lot of surfaces on our body. It decays, right? It has a lifespan. So when two-dimensional consciousness live on the surface of our skin, that is regarded as the realm of the light, yes, the heaven, yeah. And even that heaven, it has a certain lifespan. And those two-dimensional creatures on the surface of our body, maybe there are atomic scale or whatever, right? Or, you know, interestingly, there's a lot of empty space between the nuclei of our atoms and the field around it, in a similar way that you have the empty space between solar systems and planetary systems and Milky Ways, right? So we could be, each one of us could be literally invested with two-dimensional consciousness, so we're literally never alone. We might have innumerable, countless two-dimensional consciousness living on the surface of our being, plus inside us, the realm of non-light, the dark realms. And sometimes if you open your mouth, the breath of Brahman, those creatures inside the mouth, they see the light, but sometimes only. And well, sometimes it gets dark, so when you sleep, it could be that the innumerable 2D consciousness, they die off because there's no light. And then when it's light again, the day of Brahman, yes, you open the eyes, you witness yourself, and therefore there is light, and existence start again for the two-dimensional consciousnesses on the surface of your being, inside. So I guess logically, according to the dimensional model, which is no longer linguistic at this point, right? It becomes physicalized. And in an interesting way, when you have like microscopic animals on our skin or in our bodies, bacteria, stuff like that, those could be regarded as kind of the demigod, of that region, the, let's say, the Dharmamus of certain areas, the local gods of that area, right? Because that can still be seen somehow. Yes, because the atoms, the different atomic structures in ourselves, they have a very big space between each other, right? And those could be solar systems where you have binary systems, multiple protons, stuff like that. Well, it would be nice to be able to communicate with these two-dimensional consciousness within ourselves. But how? They are so minutely small and operate on a far different time scale. And if we invert that to a dimensionality higher than us, then we start again seeing extremely different physical scales and extremely different time scales, like that our solar system, it's just kind of an atom in the body of such a creature we live in, right? It's the next meta stack. Like we are embodying an entire meta stack with all the polarities in that sense. So we are literally gods, actually, because we carry the solar systems as atoms within ourselves with the space in between. It could be that the 2D civilizations is building space stations around one of the the atomic centers in our body and traveling between atoms, thinking, "Wow, it's empty space. Let's go to space." This is actually theoretically possible, but in terms of consciousness and kind of structure, because it's 2D, it's so flat that we actually cannot detect it, because even our instruments would see even our internals as a three-dimensional system, not 2D, right? And since it is infinitely small, so we're looking at string theories and such dimensionalities, and yeah, that's something to think about. That we literally are God, and in our body we are carrying, you know, universes, solar systems, and stuff like that, and different ones, because different parts of our body are of different molecules, and most of it is water. Just like, fuck. What percentage of the our universe is water? And what percentage of our body is water? It's all seemingly synchronized. That is too much of a not so coincidence. All right, so okay, so basically you are God, you have infinite amount of two-dimensional creatures within you, and like, I think we can kind of feel good about that, right? We can kind of feel, oh, well, that's actually, we're not alone. God knows, maybe they have civilizations, feelings, and all that shit, and they have philosophies about the existence, possible existence of you as a three-dimensional being. In the same way, we have our theories about the four-dimensional being, right? So basically, becoming a four-dimensional being is expanding your consciousness past the omniverse, past this universe, and past the omniverse into those higher abstractions in some sense, in order to possibly be born in those realms where different laws of physics exist, Yes, because we don't feel like we are less complex in terms of consciousness than a four-dimensional being, but it could just be a scaling factor in a sense, right? Because we can think of a being which is magical, while we, let's say, are not. I mean, we can we got emotions, we got music that's magical for sure, but like like in the movies, right? Maybe a two-dimensional consciousness makes movie like fantasize about something in 3D, like how does it look like? Or maybe that's literally the movies we make. We visualize a three-dimensional reality on a two-dimensional plane, right? So when we actually, I'm a 3D animator, so when I animate something, I create something, then perhaps it actually exists, and maybe once you play the movie, on that surface space. And for the 2D consciousness, it's kind of strange because it's kind of different from real reality, right? Because a screen reality, like you got these squares, these very large squares with one colored light. So it seems very artificial, like compared to a universe where we have like let's say organic surface, which is very different in texture, right? And that kind of analogy might exist for us as well, that there are simulated three-dimensional universes, but there could also be non-simulated three-dimensional universes in that sense, in the same way as if like a four-dimensional being creates a third three-dimensional painting, or artwork in a kind of in their kind of virtual space, right? Like we do in our virtual 2D space, right? So it makes the dimensionalities very trippy, and someone would explain that why this could be a simulation, and it perhaps is, but this could also be a version that isn't a simulation. But usually, you know, with a simulation, there is a kind of let's say for a two-dimensional being, he is kind of free to travel along the two-dimensional surface, which is for us still 3D, but it is kind of flat, right? Because it is not a movement in time per se. Yes, he's not controlled. The movement of the color of the pattern is not like pre-recorded, while in a movie it is, right? So if someone stands still in time and space in a 2D verse, but the image, the screen moves because it's a movie, he will have no choice but to experience it the way it comes to him. Like, he doesn't have free will. The colors move across our television screen no matter what the 2D consciousness wants or not. The 2D consciousness does not have free will in comparison if the 2D consciousness were to walk on my skin, right? In terms of a surface. Because the surface of my skin that changes organically, not binary, right? So this reasoning alone is so scientifically packed, and with which you can deduct so many other things, that it literally becomes becomes a separate science unto itself. You can apply it even to consciousness or other things. And I just have to change because my daughter is terrorizing me. She's a little monster. And it's coming. So my daughter is like the another god that approaches my omniverse being. So okay. And